Welcome back to A History of Forbes Field. This is part 2 of a multi-part series, so if you missed part 1, click the card in the corner to get started. Other than that, like the video, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Following their first championship, some work was done to address the short porch in left field. The diamond was shifted clockwise slightly so that going forward, the left field foul line would run straight to the wall, rather than intersecting with the bleachers. When the adjustment was finished, the distance down the left field foul line was at 365 feet. In terms of baseball, the Pirates failed to defend their title, but continued to play consistent baseball, finishing in the first division of the National League every year until 1914. That season's Bucks finished with an abysmal 69-85-4 record, and Forbes Field suffered what would be its worst ever attended season with only 139,620 fans coming to games. Unfortunately, the bad baseball stuck around, and the Pirates wallowed in the bottom half of the National League until the war-ravaged 1918 season, where they finally finished over 500. Attendance at Forbes Field often mirrored the play on the field, diminishing through 1917, then seeing year-over-year improvement to round out the decade. By 1920, baseball fans in Pittsburgh were optimistic that their Pirates could return to their old championship ways. The Bucks opened up the 1920s, continuing their upward trend, making 1920 their third consecutive year of winning baseball with a 79-75-1 record, hosting 429,037 fans. That year, on October 2nd, the last tripleheader in baseball history took place at Forbes Field. Hosting the Cincinnati Reds, the Pirates lost the first 2 games before winning the third game in a mere 6 innings. Then, things really came together the next year in 1921. The Pirates had a great year, finishing out with a 90-63-1 record and in second place in the National League. Forbes Field absolutely smashed its own attendance record with 701,567 fans coming to games. Outside of the good play on the field, Forbes Field played host to Major League Baseball's first ever radio broadcast, taking place on August 5th. Led by Harold Arlen of radio station KDKA, he set up shop in the grandstands among the crowd and delivered the game over the airways for the first time, establishing a tradition that would eventually become ubiquitous with the sport itself. Though, it should be noted that regular radio broadcasts of baseball games didn't become standard until 1936. Following the 1924 campaign, a season in which Forbes Field hosted yet another record-breaking 736,883 fans, Barney Dreyfuss decided to dramatically expand the ballpark, deciding to install an 86-foot-tall, double-decked grandstand that extended down and around the right field foul pole, providing Forbes Field with some outfield seating. This dramatically cut down on the distance down the right field line to a short 300 feet, something that Dreyfuss resented given, as mentioned earlier, he hated cheap home runs. When all was said and done, the new expansion dramatically changed the stadium's aesthetic and brought the capacity up to a massive 41,000. The expansion began during the winter of 1924 and finished in June of 1925, and the fans showed up in turn, for the second straight year in a row, setting Forbes Field's attendance mark, hosting 804,354 fans, and leading the National League in attendance for the first time ever. It was a good year to host so many fans, as Forbes Field had some unique baseball events. First, on May 7th, the rarest play in baseball took place at Forbes when shortstop Glenn Wright turns an unassisted triple play against the visiting Cardinals. One of the runners was one Jimmy Cooney. Remember his name, we'll be bringing him up in a bit. A few weeks later, on May 30th, the Pirates set the record for triples in a game with a hard-to-comprehend 8 of them. Even better, the Pirates finished the year with a 95-58 record and their first National League pennant since 1909. Taking the league by a whole 8.5 games over the New York Giants, the Pirates earned themselves in a spot in that year's World Series against the defending champion Washington Senators. Forbes Field was set to host games 1, 2, 6, and 7, giving the Pirates home field advantage for the series. Game 1 was on October 7th, in front of a crowd of 41,723, with Walter Big Train Johnson taking the bump for Washington and Lee Meadows for Pittsburgh. Meadows lasted 8 innings, giving up a run in the second and 2 in the fifth, before being relieved in the ninth by Johnny Morrison, who gave up a run of his own in his 1 inning of work. Those 4 runs were too much for the Pirates offense to keep up with, as the Senators' legend Walter Johnson dominated the day, only allowing a single run across in his complete game. The next day, an even larger crowd of 43,364 showed up, hoping that their Bucks could even up the series. And they did just that. Behind the arm of Vic Aldridge, who allowed a Senators run in the second and another in the ninth, the Pirates' offense managed to do just enough to secure the day, scoring 1 in the fourth and 2 in the eighth. As the series pivoted to Washington, it was all even at 1. A travel day of rest ensued, and the series picked back up on October 10th at Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. Pirates pitcher Ray Kramer took the mound with the hopes of giving his team the series lead. Across a complete game on the road, he allowed 4 runs, and his Washington counterpart Alex Ferguson dealt 7 innings, allowing 3 runs before being relieved by Furpo Marbury. Marbury sealed the game with 2 scoreless frames, and the teams headed to Game 4 with Washington having the edge. That Game 4 would turn out to be a near impossible task for the Pirates offense as Washington gave the ball back to Walter Johnson. The Big Train did exactly what was expected, blanking the Pirates across 9 innings while his offense managed 4 runs across to win the game. In less than 2 full days in Washington, the Pirates had their backs shoved firmly against the wall. No team had ever come back to win a series after being down 3-1, and the Bucks knew they needed to play phenomenal baseball to even keep their chances alive. The day after Johnson dominated Game 5, 35,899 Senators fans showed up to Griffith with the hopes that their ball club would seal the championship. The Pirates turned to Vic Aldridge, and the Senators to Stan Coveleski. Aldridge owned the day, putting forth a complete game, 3-run effort, while his counterpart Coveleski was chased from the game after 6 1/3 innings and 4 runs of his own. When all was said and done, the Pirates claimed the game 6-3 and sent the series back to Pittsburgh. For some reason, there was no travel day for players to rest. Instead, the series was picked up at Forbes Field the day following Game 5. 43,810 fans attended that Game 6, as Ray Kramer took the mound for the Bucks, allowing a run across in both the first and second innings before locking down Washington for the final 7 frames. The Pirates' bats, for their part, got to the Senators starter Alex Ferguson with 2 runs in the third and 1 more in the fifth. Ferguson went 7 innings before being removed for the final frame. The game closed out with a 3-2 final, and just like that, the Pittsburgh baseball team had scratched and clawed their way back into the series. 2 days later, both ball clubs arrived at Forbes Field, hoping that the day would end in celebration for their side. The Senators turned to their mythic starter Walter Johnson to handle the duties, while the hometown Pirates put the game on the arm of Vic Aldridge. Aldridge got off to a nightmare start, allowing 4 earned runs across while only managing to record a single out. Before the game even got going, the Pirates found themselves in a nearly insurmountable hole. The Bucks offense broke through in the third with 3 runs to bring the game within 1, but Johnny Morrison, who relieved Aldridge in the first, gave up 2 fourth-inning runs, extending the Washington lead to 3. Morrison was relieved by Ray Kramer in the fifth, and he dealt the next 4 innings, only allowing a single Senators run in the eighth. When it was all over, it took 4 Pirates pitchers to go the 9 innings, allowing a massive 7 Washington runs across. Luckily, their offense came to play. Walter Johnson went the distance for the visiting Senators, But the legend ran out of magic as the day went on. He surrendered the aforementioned 3 runs in the 3rd, then proceeded to allow a run in the 5th. Holding a 6-4 lead, Johnson blew it in the 7th, allowing 2 runs across and the Pirates to tie the game up. With his offense scoring a run in the top of the 8th, the Big Train needed just 2 more scoreless innings to seal the championship for his team. But he fell apart in the 8th inning, allowing 3 runs across. Despite the Senators scoring 7 runs behind one of the greatest pitchers of all time, the Pirates managed to shock the world, shelling Johnson for 15 hits and 9 runs. Red Oldham came in to pitch the 9th for the hometown Pirates, slamming the door on the Senators and sealing Pittsburgh's 2nd ever World Series. And unlike 1909, this time the celebration ensued in front of their thrilled fans. The Pirates followed their historic championship comeback with yet another solid season, finishing 1926 with an 84, 69, and 4 record and a 3rd place finish in the National League. Another solid season for Pirates fans to enjoy, but they followed that up with yet another National League pennant in 1927. Finishing nearly 10 games better than 1926, the 27 Pirates finished the year with a 94, 60, and 2 record, winning the league by a mere game and a half over the St. Louis Cardinals. Forbes Field smashed its own attendance records once again, hosting 869,720 fans. Beyond witnessing winning baseball from their team, the Pirates fans were treated to yet another unassisted triple play on May 30th. Remember Jimmy Cooney from the St. Louis Cardinals in 1925? He was on the base paths for Glenn Wright's unassisted triple play. Well, come May of 1927, he was on the Chicago Cubs, and this time, it was his turn to make the historic play. Planting himself in the history books, Cooney snagged a hard line drive to short hit by Paul Wainer. He stepped on second to force out Wainer's younger brother Lloyd, then tagged the incoming Clyde Barnhart from first. This was only the 6th of 15 unassisted triple plays ever turned as of the writing of this video. Taking the pennant in 1927 earned the Pirates a spot in the World Series once again. Unfortunately for our dear Pirates, they ran into what many consider to be the greatest baseball team ever assembled. Behind the management of Miller Huggins and a lineup still known today as Murderers Row, the Yankees finished the year with a 110, 44, and 1 record, taking the American League by a hard-to-comprehend 19 games. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, batting 3rd and 4th in the Yanks lineup, combined for a ridiculous 107 home runs and an utterly insane 338 runs batted in. Even their relatively new Yankee Stadium performed at a historic level, hosting over 1.15 million fans in the Bronx. The Yankees were an absolute machine, a dynasty in its prime, led by 2 of the greatest to ever do it, having arguably their best individual seasons. Given this, our Pirates had a tough task ahead, and it quickly proved impossible. It was the National League's turn for home field advantage in the series, so Pittsburgh was set to host games 1 and 2, and then 6 and 7 if necessary. Game 1 was on October 5th, with the Yankees' Waite Hoyt taking the mound, facing the Pirates' Ray Kramer. In front of a crowd of 41,467, both pitchers failed to go the distance, with Hoyt lasting 7 1/3 innings, outdueling his counterpart Kramer, who was pulled after 5. Kramer gave up 5 runs to the Yanks, while Hoyt allowed 4. Both relievers held strong, pitching scoreless outings, leading to a 5-4 Yankees win for Game 1. The very next day, 41,634 fans showed up to Forbes Field with the hopes that their Pirates would even up the series. But it was to no avail. The Pirates' bats struggled against Yankees starter George Pipgras, putting up a run in the 1st and another in the 8th, while their starter, Vic Aldridge, gave up a 3 spot in the 3rd and another 3 in the 8th. The series pivoted to the Bronx with the Yankees in firm control. Game 3 was unfortunately more of the same. In front of a massive crowd of 60,695, Lee Meadows took the mound for the Bucks and ran into immediate trouble. The Bronx Bombers snagged 2 quick runs in the 1st before exploding in the 7th, plating 6 more. Yankee starter Herb Pennant was lights out, allowing 1 measly Pirates run in the 8th inning. 3-0 Yankees. Game 4 was the next day, on October 8th, with 57,909 fans filing into Yankee Stadium. The Pirates put their hopes on the arm of Carmen Hill, while the Yankees turned to Will Seymour to close out the series. The game was a doozy, going back and forth all day long. Both teams put up a run in the 1st, and then went silent until the bottom of the 5th when the Yankees plated 2 runs against Carmen Hill. The Bucks then responded with a 2 spot of their own in the top of the 7th before bringing in Pittsburgh native Johnny Miljuice in the bottom of the inning. The score remained tied, going into the bottom of the 9th, 3-3. Miljuice walked the leadoff hitter Earl Combs, then gave up a bunt single to Mark Koenig before the Sultan of SWAT himself stepped into the box. A shaky Johnny Miljuice, facing down an already mythic Babe Ruth, slung a wild pitch, allowing the runners to advance to 2nd and 3rd. Miljuice proceeded to intentionally walk Ruth, now staring down the barrel of Lou Gehrig. Gehrig pushed the count to 2-2 before Miljuice got him to whiff for an insanely clutch strikeout. Next up, Bob Musial, who had to fight to work his 2-2 count before Miljuice punched him out as well. Just like that, Johnny Miljuice had worked his way from the bases loaded and no outs to just a pitch away from getting out of the inning. Tony Lazzeri stepped into the box, and Miljuice got a first pitch strike by him. The next pitch left the hand of Miljuice a little goofy and went wild. Johnny Gooch failed to corral the ball quick enough, and before anybody could blink, Earl Combs came streaking across home. The Yankees won the game on only the 3rd ever series-clinching walk-off, and pandemonium erupted at Yankee Stadium. Little did fans in Pittsburgh know, but this is the closest that their ball club would come to winning a championship for several decades. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of A History of Forbes Field. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, we have memberships live and merch available if you're interested in finding more ways to support the channel. I think that's all for now, so I'll see you next week. And remember, if you like baseball, like this video and subscribe for more.